Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you all how to texture this shield. So I've gone ahead and actually created a texture on here, and you'll see it in here. If I tap 6 on my keyboard, you'll also see it right here on the actual model itself. So I created this texture, and I'm going to show you how I did it. But in the last video I didn't show you how to export your UVs. I know I showed you in other labs, the cylindrical mapping, the automatic mapping one with the barrel and the crate. But just as a little refresher, I'll show you again. If you go to Tools and Move UV Shell Tool, highlight, click and drag all over all of your UVs here, and then just do Image and UV Snapshot. From here, you're just going to click on Browse, locate where you want to save it to, call it whatever you'd like, Shield UVs.tga, and then you can always save it wherever you'd like. I'm going to hit cancel because I already did. And then I also, another thing you need to make sure is that you made the image format a Targa, and that I changed this to 2048 to 2048. And the reason I did that is because I wanted it to be a higher resolution for me to work with while I'm texturing, so I get a little higher quality with it. And a little way that these numbers work for texturing is they generally only work in multiples of 4, so like 8, 16, 32, 64, 112, 256 by 256. These are all pixel sizes. 512 by 512. 1024 by 1024 is really one of the most common texture sizes there is. But now that we're getting into higher, more machines that are more capable of rendering these larger files, such as like 4K, texture image files are getting much larger. In fact, where poly count used to be a really big factor to be aware of while modeling, and using it for whatever application you're using it for, the models, now it's not so much the poly count anymore. I mean, there are some restrictions, but a major thing that companies need to be very aware of is texture sizes and the file sizes of textures, because they can really get very large. So, but for this, I'm going to just leave it a little bit higher at 2048 by 2048. So I'm going to go ahead and click Apply and Close, or you would. I'm going to click Close because I already did create one, and I'm going to click on Close. And now I'm going to show you how I went about creating this. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Photoshop, and here is my UVs, just my blank canvas of UVs to create my 3D texture on my 3D model shield. So excuse me, the first thing I'm going to do is the bolts, and I'm going to go over here and go to bolts. I already have it open, and I'll leave all these files in the canvas shell. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my spherical or elliptical marquee tool right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold shift and run a click and drag and just simply select one of these and then copy it with Control C, or edit, copy. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and do my UVs over here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this, and then I'm going to name it bolt. That's fine. Now you could, by default, it's not going to fit the actual one. So press Control T for edit, transform, and then just go ahead and scale it larger. And you can always, under opacity, bring the opacity down and make sure that it's fitting right. And I'm going to press Control plus to zoom in. You could also use the zoom tool right over here. And I'm just going to make sure that I kind of get this entire thing inside. But I don't want to stretch that image too much, so I'm going to kind of just make sure. So that's a pretty good size. I'm going to press enter. And then you can go ahead and reuse the same one for every bolt if you'd like. I went ahead and for this one, I went ahead and I selected a different one for each one. And in certain cases, I needed to, I just used the erase tool to erase some of these parts because they had overlapping UVs. I'm going to just go ahead and click this so you can see. So this texture here would have been overlapping on this one, and it would have looked funny on my model. So I just used the eraser tool to make sure it was off of the UV, and then just layered them properly. So that's what my UVs would look like that. And in order to get this to look like this, if you'd like, it can be really helpful when texturing. What I do is I just duplicate this by clicking and dragging my original layer onto the new layer button, and then I drag it all the way to the top, and then I change the blend mode from normal to screen, and that's it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just reuse this so I don't have to go through the entire process of showing you this again. So I'm going to take all my bolts and I'm just going to duplicate it and merge them. Control A, Control C, and then here I'm going to press Control Shift V and delete my original bolt. So that's all I did for that. I brought the opacity down for every single one, and then I went ahead and I put them in place, and then some of them I even erased. And I pressed Control Shift V there, Control Shift V, because that is paste in place, so it'll paste exactly where it was. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and begin this texture here around the main part where the bolts are going to be located. So I'm going to press Control V, and basically what I just did was I did Control A, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. And now I'm going to press Control T to edit transform, and I'm going to go ahead and just bring it to a smaller size. I think that'll be cool. And quickly I'll just show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to click and drag and press Control T, or I could just use my move tool. And because this is a seamless texture, it's going to work totally fine. And one more time. And I'm just holding Shift and clicking and dragging these over. And now what I can do is I can highlight all these, duplicate them, and then drag them down. You'll notice that I don't know if you can see it in the screen or not, but I know I can. If I zoom in, you can see this subtle little line, and what that does, if I want to get rid of it, I can just tap up on the keyboard, and that will 1 pixel. By using the keyboard arrow keys, it'll only shift it 1 pixel at a time. So I just shifted that 1 pixel there. And now I can go ahead and hold Shift and select all of these, and I'm going to duplicate them all again, and just go ahead and drag this down, and then I know how to bring it up 1 pixel from where it snaps, and I'll do that one more time, and maybe 2 more times actually, because okay, and here we go. Alright, so I'm going to press Control 0 to zoom out all the way. And now that I've got this little pattern here, I'm going to take all of these and merge them down. Every layer I have except the bolts, and press Control E to merge layers, or layer merge down. Control E. And this is going to be metal pattern 01. So what I've got here is I need to clear out the center of it. So if I bring this over, I'll show you really quickly. And I'm going to change this from normal to screen. And I need to clear out this part for the middle. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go back to my metal pattern. And I'm going to go image, or excuse me, layer, and layer mask, and I'm going to click reveal all. Now I'm going to use my brush tool. And just in case I'm still in my 3D mode, by the way, you can just change that to essentials. And brush. Don't know why my keyboard shortcut wasn't working. There it goes. And white will show and black will hide. So I'm going to switch to my color black, and this will automatically change as soon as you turn on that layer mask. And now you can just sort of paint on here, or paint out what you want. And if I want to bring this back on, I can just grab my white color and paint it back on. So it's a super, super useful tool. And I'm going to turn my hardness, that's fine. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring, it's too large. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint out what I don't need. Something like that. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the middle. Oop. And I could use my eraser tool, but I prefer to use this tool. And now, because I can always paint back in what I need. And I'm going to turn the hardness. I guess I really don't need to. And now I'm going to hold Shift and just click around, because I got to be a little bit more precise with this one. And holding Shift will just paint in a straight line. So I'm kind of just following my UV pattern here. My UV edges, basically. Something like that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and paint this all out. Switch to my white brush, make sure, there we go. And black hides every color on here. And it's not erasing it, it's just hiding it. It's just masking it out. So we're just masking out this section. Okay, and now I need to add a new texture into that part. So back over here, I go to this one, I'm going to press Control A, Control C, go back to my Shield UVs, Control V, and now I'm just going to move this into place. And I can even scale it down, and something like that'll work. And I'm going to bring that underneath this pattern. And now I'm also going to do coat center metal. I don't know, something like that. And now I can also do a layer, reveal all. And this is just, if you don't have to do this if it's not overlapping on any UVs. It just looks a little bit more professional. And we'll just go ahead. So if you're really looking to get a job in this type of field, these are just little subtle things you can do to make yourself a little bit more presentable. Because companies, I mean, most textures you'll see that are professionally done are going to be literally just that. They're not going to have extra information in here that it doesn't need. So anyway, now I've got that. Why don't I go ahead and save this? And before I do that, I'm going to take this one and I'll copy this, Control A, Control C, and oops, wrong one, Control V. And I'm going to go ahead and take this and rescale it down. And something like that. And now I'm going to turn off, name this coat of arms. Now I'm going to turn off my UVs and save this out. TGA shield diffuse underscore 002, enter. And I just realized I forgot to turn off my alpha channels. And click save, yes, okay. And I just want to show you quickly where I'm at with this. So I'm going to assign a new material. We're going to do a blend. We're going to go to color. We're going to go to file. We're going to click on the little find your file button, and then shield diffuse 002, open, and you'll see where we're at so far. So I've come pretty far with it. I mean, I've got about half of it, I guess you could say, textured in a way. I've got the bolts all caught up with, they're all done. So, like I said, you could always reuse the same ones, but I switched. Each one of those bolts is a different one from the next. So now that I've got those in there, I'm going to go ahead and texture this outer sort of rim part here, and I'll switch to Photoshop. So this last part, I actually used this color here, this gold. I thought it might look cool at first, but I really didn't like it once it was applied. So what I did was I really made it like this entirely different. That's good. Thing. So I'm just going to duplicate this like I did the last one. There we go. And if you need to, make sure that you are shifting these 1 pixel at a time. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a subtle little line across. Tap up on the keyboard once, and we're good to go. And I'm going to duplicate that last one more time. Tap up on the keyboard. And now I'm going to merge all these, selecting the first one, holding shift, selecting the very last one in a row, and then pressing Control E to merge down. Now I'm going to turn back on this UVs button here, just so I can see while I put on my layer mask reveal all. And using my brush, I'm just going to simply paint out everything that I don't need. Bring it down a little bit. Alright. And I can always switch to white, paint back in if I need to, switch back to black, and just sort of paint this out. Bring up my brush a little bit just so I can work a little bit faster. And get all that out of the way. So even though I had this like sort of bright yellow goldish kind of texture here, I want to turn this back down. Oh, wrong one. Go to white. Just paint this back in. And switch to white. Switch here. And that'll work. Something like that. And I can see a little bit bleeding through here, and right around this edge. Right here as well. Alright. So, the only last part I need to paint out is the middle. So, and I could just get away with just doing, just unpainting these UVs and it would work fine. But like I said, if you want it to be a little bit more professional, you want to kind of go the extra mile and do it right. Or just, you know, sort of like a industry standard kind of way or professional way, because that's really the only way you see these textures done nowadays. Is they're very accurate on what's being textured where. And It is better that way because at least you can see what the other UVs look like while you're working, and you know you can always make adjustments if you need to later. Um, but I'm just going to finish painting this out. Okay, and there's that part, and then I've got this last section, and really all I did for the last section was I took this one, I duplicated it, and I actually right clicked and hit delete layer mask, and then control T, and then I just rotated it 90 degrees, and I brought it down here, and then I just did one more layer layer mask reveal all, and just grab a slightly bigger brush and then just painted out what I didn't need. So this is overlapping here. I need to make sure I get rid of that. Come around, paint this out. I can always switch back to white, switch back to black, paint this part out, and I'm just very slowly so that's pretty good. And like I said with the last one, I did have it like this was that same yellow texture that I have over here. However, I just went ahead and I clicked on the layer. Make sure you click on the left side, not on the layer mask side. And I just started messing around with it. I started messing around with like the brightness and contrast on it. So I brought down like the brightness and brought up the contrast. Clicked OK, and then I did sort of this image adjustments. See an auto tone. Whoa, that's super weird. Image adjustments, and we can do like hue saturation. I could do a color balance on it, and I can really just start to play around with a lot of different things to give it, you know, whatever kind of thing I'm going for. And I could also mess around with the what's it called? The levels. But for this, I did black and white, and then I just did an auto, and then I just pressed OK actually. Black and white. I'm going to try that first, and then on here I see right on the interior, I need to use my brush tool and paint that back in. So I went with a little bit brighter color. The last one was a little too dark. So from here, what I'm going to do is, I don't know, this could be outer rim metal. So now I'm just going to save this out as a TGA, and shield diffuse O2, turn off alpha channels, click save, OK, and OK. And now in Maya, I can just reload this texture, and you'll see kind of what it looks like. And it's starting to look pretty good. So now that I've got that texture on, I just need to do a couple more things to this, and that is in Photoshop. I'm going to just grab all this stuff, duplicate it, press Control E to merge it down, and then I'm just going to do filter. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this twice. I'm going to do filter, 3D, generate normal map, and I'm just going to leave it as so, and click, just roll around and see what it looks like, and I'm just going to click OK. And now I'm going to also, with this one, turn that off. This is going to be my normal. and this one's going to be my specular. So I'm going to do image adjustments, black and white. Click auto if you like, and then click OK. And then image adjustments, brightness, contrast. If I want it to be more shiny, I go higher. If I want it to be less shiny, I go lower. Bring up the contrast. Bring down the brightness, maybe. I don't know. Whatever you think looks best. And I'll click OK. And this will be specular. And then I'm going to save these out as TGAs, turn off alpha channels, shield specular underscore 002. And in Maya, I'll add my specular map under specular color. And go to File, locate that file. Shield specular 002 I called it, open, and you'll notice now that I get only certain areas will I get that shine. It's going to be much less now. So you'll still see I get it on the coat of arms here, right? And then the last thing I got to do is I need to save out my Photoshop. Need to save this out as a TGA. Normal underscore 002. Turn off alpha channels. Click save. OK. And then back in Maya, let's go ahead and apply my bump map. So it's not really a bump map. This is a normal map. I'm going to click the little checker folder. Click File. I'm going to use as tangent space normals, and then I'm going to click this little bump, or I can just go File 3, click on the little folder, and then locate my file and click Open. And now you'll see I get my bump map. And you can try switching your renderer. You might not have the high quality renderer. I know it wasn't default by 2018, but you probably have the Arnold renderer, so you can kind of play around with it and see what it looks like. Let's just viewport 2.0. So anyway, you can really see like the shine on here and how it's working, and the normals, especially on the little emblem there. But anyway, that's all I've got for you in this video. And you can see without a texture on and with a texture on, major difference. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. That's all there is to texturing the shield. I know it's a lot of info, but it's really not anything that, not too much other stuff we haven't covered before on how to texture. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, be sure to shoot me a message. And yeah, take care.